Hello friends, and welcome back to Scaling Stories. Today, I've got some more highly upvoted posts from Best of Redditor updates. Like always, I'll be reading you the posts and giving you my opinions, and I'll also be working on building up my Forever World at the same time, so I hope you enjoy. Also, I'm currently only in Spotify's creator program, so watching on there would help me out a ton. Thank you so much for your support. Today's first story comes from the marriage subreddit. It was posted by NervousGood9547 on May 18th, 2026, and was titled, "My in-laws bought me a Fiat, and that somehow led to finding out my husband had not only an affair, but a whole other family. My husband, 38 male, and I, 36 female, have been together since high school. We have 2 daughters, 16 years old and 14 years old, and 3 dogs. I work from home. He drives a truck for trips that last up to a week, then comes home, spends a couple of days, then gets back on the road. This hasn't been so much of a problem since the pandemic, when the company I work for, like many others, switched to the home office model. Even after we were able to go back to the office, I decided to keep working from home so I could be around the kids. And honestly, without so many unnecessary meetings and interactions, I could get my work done faster. I even started taking small marketing jobs on the side. The way we manage finances at home is we split all bills and expenses in half, and each gets to keep their money. Yes, we have a couple shared saving accounts for emergencies, family trips, etc. But other than putting in our share, we don't really bother asking the other what we do with our money. It wasn't always like this, but it has been for a long time. And I always thought that's just how our relationship progressed. Since it wasn't really an inconvenience, I thought we were just 2 very independent individuals, and our relationship works, so why think about it too deep, right? Well, for the last year, my in-laws have been asking how my new electric car has been working out for me. At first, I had only wonderful reviews, but later, I started noticing some inconveniences, and I shared them when they asked. I told them about needing to pay a subscription to use the navigating system, and at some point, even the radio. I told them about the system updates taking very long and the car staying locked for the entire process. Also joked about needing to either park in the living room or move the router to the garage for better Wi-Fi. Anyways, my sweet in-laws worried I might need a reliable backup vehicle just in case. 2 weeks ago, they showed up in front of my house with a cute little Fiat, used but perfectly functional. I could tell they worried I wouldn't want to take such a gift because the first thing my father-in-law mentioned is how cheap it was, a bargain he couldn't pass. Such sweet gestures from them, always worrying about my girls and I being safe while their son is away, always melts my heart. They've always been there looking out for us. I could never refuse. So I said thank you and took them for a ride. Anyways, I have always lived for the flair. Every single vehicle I have owned has gotten a pink or purple paint job or been covered in stickers. Call me tacky or whatever, I don't care, it brings me joy. So, as soon as we got the keys to this cute little thing, my girls and I were off to get it wrapped. We got a smoky lavender wrap that sparks just a little in the sun. When my eldest saw it, she said, "It's beautiful." Like the millennial I am, I said, "like diamonds." So we knew what was next. Bumper stickers. "This is the wrap of a killer, Bella. Hold on tight, spider monkey." And my favorite, "Is she even Italian? Get it? Lol." Anyways, if you're still here even after cringing, let me tell you about the absolute meltdown my husband had when he saw the car. Something neither of us had ever seen before. And he has seen every vehicle I have owned my entire life. What was wrong? Well, that was fine when the cars were mine, but this one was purchased by his parents, so technically, it was his. I told him they bought it for me, gifted it to me, the title was in my name. He said, then, it was ours. I said, okay, I could understand that logic, I guess, but then still, why the meltdown? He said the car lost its resale value with everything I did to it. I said, okay, it's a wrap. Also, no one is selling it, so what? He said he already had a buyer and we needed the money. Need the money? For what? As far as I know, we're doing okay. Even if he told me he lost his job that very day, I have a job, some work on the side, and we have savings. We are doing okay given the current political climate and all that. What could be so bad that he needs to sell a car we didn't have until 2 weeks ago and never told me about it? Well, folks, it wasn't a buyer. It was his other wife. No kidding, he won't call her a mistress. She stalks us on social media and was tired of the favoritism, so she threatened to tell everyone the truth unless he gave her the car. Why? Because his parents have never met her, and she has never gotten anything from them like I have. Favoritism? Lady, we didn't even know you existed. I learned they have a child too, but I will not be talking about the child since it is not his fault, so I will keep him out of this. In the end, me refusing to sell the car and my kids posting it on social media made her come out and DM us everything about their relationship, with receipts and all. And I would say I'm still processing, but I'm not. I'm numb. Honestly, just posting to make sure it's not a dream. I feel angry, heartbroken, stupid. I question how I've lived so long without noticing or even suspecting anything. And all I can actually do is laugh while I cry real ugly. Still don't know what to do first. Lawyer? Therapist? In-laws? Do I even get to talk to them about this? He is their son, and they have a grandchild they didn't even know about. I can't ask them to take my side, even if there's a possibility they would. Am I even allowed? My girls are devastated too. Our family, our lives, everything is upside down. It feels unreal. And it all started with a little kawaii Fiat. Scaling Stories Corner. So, absolutely, OP is allowed and should talk to her in-laws and anyone else she has for her support group about this. I think definitely a lawyer to see what her options are. And I can't imagine someone wanting to stay in a relationship with someone else who not only cheated on her repeatedly over the years, but also has a child with said affair partner that no one else ever knew about. I mean, no wonder his affair partner is furious. Literally, no one has ever suspected that the husband was having an affair, and she is just seeing the other happy life OP and her family is living. Now, I'm not saying she's a good party in all this, but I mean, she's the affair partner. I don't know if she hooked up with OP's husband knowing he was a married man at the start, but at some point she must have found out, and that's when she needed to cut ties instead of whatever this mess is. She could have gotten mixed up with OP's husband without knowing he was married, got pregnant, and then thought she was in too deep, but we don't really know any of the very specific details, so it's all just guessing and using what we know from OP's post. And what we do know is that she wants OP's car to not expose the affair relationship, which I'm also pretty confused by. Did she not just expose the affair by messaging OP with receipts and stuff? Maybe she wanted the car before OP remodeled it. But yeah, the in-laws and everyone else definitely deserve to know. And luckily, OP does have those receipts to prove her side of things. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, "That is horrible. Is he still trying to contact you? Did AP reach out again? How did he refer to her as other wife?" OP says, "We fought over the car in the afternoon. She messaged me in the morning. Screenshots showed they argued all night over the car. She said, 'I'm not playing, I will tell her.' And she did. I was making breakfast, and he came when the fire alarm went off because I burnt the toast. When he saw my face, he knew. He was talking, but I couldn't hear him. I was shaking. Then he said something around, 'I had to take responsibility for my son,' and at some moment, he said, 'my second wife.' I don't know what he was saying, but I thought, second wife? When did we get divorced for him to have a second wife? I told him to stop talking and leave. And then my kids came down screaming. She messaged them too. That's when I lost it. How dare she contact my children? I screamed too. He went upstairs to grab a bag. I screamed after him that he take everything he could because I would burn everything else. She kept on sending me photos and screenshots, and at the time, I got a message from my best friend, so I told her what was happening, and she came over. He was leaving as she pulled up. She kicked his car, and he left. He sent me his live location from a motel. I didn't reply. Commenter 2 says, you must lawyer. He is a massive liar, and nothing he has ever told you is true. Even the truth of where he goes every day is marred by lies. A whole other life. Get your affairs in order and get out as best you can. This is a business transaction now. I'm so sorry. OP says, we've been together since we graduated high school, so my entire life has been a lie. Everything I've ever said, like I married my high school sweetheart and we've been each other's first and only love, to being worried he's out there driving. Has he eaten yet? Is he getting enough rest? What if he gets into an accident? To find out what he was actually doing while I was at home thinking I was holding down the fort like a caring, understanding partner. I was only being fooled. Commenter 3 says, it's interesting that it was his parents' kind gesture that led to this discovery. Do his parents know about her now? OP says, I'm 99% sure they don't. They aren't good with social media, so even if she tried to contact them, they think it's a hacker or something. Plus, they haven't shown up. They are the type of people to call me if they drive by my house and they don't see one of my dogs. 1%. They might know and felt so ashamed of the son they raised, they went into an underground bunker. Commenter 4 says, wow. Did he even apologize? Or explain his actions? Not that it matters. I'm honestly flabbergasted at people who think they can get away with this. I'm so sorry. Best wishes for you and your girls. OP says, I think he tried. I couldn't hear him. All while he talked, there was too much proof to deny. There are pictures, videos, and entire conversations. All I could hear was a ringing in my ears, and then I told him to please just leave, and he did. Like he understood there was no going back from this. She did apologize, something like she was sorry but didn't want to live in the shadows anymore. I didn't say anything. Commenter 5 says, lawyer and in-laws. Lawyer first, then meet your in-laws. If you are as close to them as it sounds, they will support you. They sound like good people. Your soon-to-be ex-husband, however, is garbage. What he did is disgusting and affects the whole family. And his mistress, because she is, in fact, his mistress, sounds nuts. OP says, she said she was sorry, that she only told me because she didn't want to live in the shadows anymore. However, that doesn't explain why she stalked us on social media. That means she knew about us and watched us closely. For what? Also, I understand not wanting to live in the shadows or whatever, but then why over a car? Couldn't it be over her kid or something more important? Also, why do I care about her when he is the one who hurt me? He is the one who broke his promise and my trust and our family and our hearts. Commenter 6 says, how do you know she stalked your social media? OP says, because of all the screenshots she sent. In their conversations, she confronted him with pictures taken off my daughter's account. Not only of the car, but also my daughter posted when we took on Ticketmaster for BTS tickets, which he and I also split. She complained about the things my girls get, which I don't think I need to explain, but I still will. When I said we are okay financially, I didn't mean like we are rich. I meant we have our basic needs covered. The tickets, my daughters said they didn't want birthday parties or gifts. My daughter turned 16 and all she wanted was a ticket. The car was a gift from their grandparents, and it was out of concern my EV's reliability could depend on our Wi-Fi. I don't know what kind of life he's living out there with her, but I work really hard to give my girls the best I can. I don't know if she knew the entire context when she complained about favoritism and the car and the tickets. Commenter 7 says, OP, how long has this been going on? WTF? OP says, she sent the picture of the two of them with 2 children and said only the youngest is his, but he helped raise the oldest, so over 6 years at least. I don't know if they thought I'd give him credit for being a good stepdad while I've been at home with his 2 daughters. Update 1 day later. 1. Took care of our saving accounts this morning. Moved half of our emergency fund first. When I got to the savings we have for leisure, vacations, etc., he had already taken his half. Probably thought I would empty it and decided to make the first move. At least he only took half? I didn't touch the college saving accounts we have for our girls. There are penalties for withdrawal and other stuff to consider. I did print a statement to prove the amounts as of today, in case he does anything. 2. Had meetings with 2 different lawyers and explained the situation. Both were very professional and reassuring. I will be contacting the one I choose later this afternoon to provide bank statements and the other stuff. 3. Called my brother and told him what is going on. Wish I could say it was like in the movies where they drop everything and get on the first plane, but this is real life and he can't do that. He promised to stay in touch every day. 4. Yesterday, my best friend took over my phone so she could reply to the other woman. Seriously, don't know what to call her in this situation. Anyway, I wasn't in the mood, but my friend said we must ask all the questions now that she is willing to talk. Once he gets on the road, he will probably make her his first stop and convince her not to say any more. So, she asked all the questions. Here it is. They met 7 years ago, after she separated from the father of her first child. They started dating. He didn't interact with her son at first, but he paid for the babysitter so they could go on dates. The pregnancy wasn't planned. When she revealed the pregnancy, he revealed he was married. She said she would ask for child support. He didn't want that because I would find out, so he offered financial support and to stick around. He moved her out of her 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom apartment. They have moved twice since. Her family doesn't know about the situation. They think he is a very discreet person, not into social media. She was okay with their arrangement at first, but she did draw comparisons about us living in a house while they live in an apartment, and I bought a new car a little over a year ago while he got her a used one. I bought my own car, by the way, so whatever little amount he spends on her, he didn't spend on mine, so I should be the one upset here. Our mortgage is still on for another 2 years, so he promised once the house is paid for, they can look for a better place. Good luck with that. We could only afford this house because, at the time we bought it, he was in the military and got help getting the credit approved so he could live in the area. Prices weren't as high as they are now. This place wasn't gentrified, and also, I've been paying my half too. So when she saw that my girls got concert tickets and his parents gave me the backup car, she felt wronged by him. She didn't mean to actually tell us at first, but seeing him ignore her warning made her actually want to spill the tea. She says she knows it is wrong that she lurked on social media, but she couldn't help it. I guess we got a lot of evidence from her. Everything is saved and the conversation is exported. I called my in-laws. They're coming over for dinner. I still don't know how I'll bring it up. I guess just rip it off like a band-aid. That is all. Maybe too little, maybe a lot. My best friend said things are falling into place, but all I see is everything we've built crumbling. Thank you all for your thoughtful advice. Next step is probably going to be getting us some therapy and staying on top of the legal stuff. ScalingStories Corner. Oh my gosh. I wonder if it'll show later because I do something to cut down on silences in the recording so everything plays relatively smoothly later. But when the affair partner revealed she was pregnant and then OP's husband revealed he was married, I was legit stunned for a couple of seconds and didn't say anything. But that is actually crazy, and that's what I thought might have happened. It's not like she initially knew he was married and went into the relationship being okay with being the other woman, so definitely a major a-hole move by the husband. But she knew he was married at that point, then decided not to go for child support, so that's on her. I know it's a hard decision to decide if you want to keep a child or not, especially when you think you were in love with this person, but OP's husband was lying the entire time about his relationship. I don't see how the affair partner could look at the situation, see that he's going to stay married to OP and live that life, and think it's going to be okay because he's supposedly going to stick around after she gives birth. Like, at that point, I think you need to completely cut ties with him and pursue child support, or maybe you can't have the child. Second update 2 days later. Second update, and probably last for a while now because I will need to focus on all the legal stuff. Talked to the in-laws. They were shocked. My mother-in-law had a harder time believing it was real. It's not like she called me a liar. She just kept on reciting my sentences back to me as a question, like she couldn't make sense of it. I don't blame her. father-in-law was the first to start reproaching his behavior and the way she did things. The fact that she contacted the girls made him so upset. I worried for his health. After I told them how everything went down, the fight over the car, her contacting us, him leaving to a motel, etc., I told them about the info I gathered from her, how long it's been going on, where they live, all that. They were honest. They told me my girls and I will always be their family. They understand there's no going back from this. They would never advise me to try to work it out. They said I have their support in everything regarding this situation, our divorce, that I could rely on them for anything I need. But they were also clear that, at the end of the day, he is their son. So as disappointed as they are in him and don't even want to see him right now, they can't lie and say they'll cut him off. That he is their son and they hope I can understand that they won't disown him. As for the other grandson, they haven't met him in almost 7 years. They can wait until our separation is final. They don't want contact with the other woman, even if, one day, they get to meet the boy. What she did, messing with someone else's children, is unforgivable in their books. They said they'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, but as of now, they won't create more conflict. Also, for my girls, they want them to know their grandparents will always be on their side. I feel very grateful to them. I can't say I'll be relying on them as much as I used to, but we won't become strangers either. I can understand them not cutting off their son, and I appreciate their honesty, because they didn't lie to me about kicking him to the curb, only for me to find out he's moving in with them or something. Also, on a second note, some of you mentioned getting STD tests. On it. Already booked an appointment. Maybe this may be TMI. We've used protection for the last 8 years. And guys, I think he gaslit me into thinking it was for me. See, I had some issues with birth control, and at some point, he, a very caring husband, said, since he isn't home most of the time, it wasn't fair for me to be the one pumping all those hormones into my body. He could be the one to use protection, not a vasectomy, because we were too young and we might want another baby later though. I really felt so cherished. Thinking of the timeline, that's probably when he thought of cheating, and that was the best way for me to not find out. Anyways, I will be getting tested, but it is kind of funny how, when the drain gets unclogged, all the crap comes out. ScalingStories Corner. So, I guess that's that until a divorce is actually finalized. I'm pretty glad the in-laws were very supportive of OP, and I do understand their position in the matter. They're absolutely furious that their son has blown up the family unit that they've cherished, but they don't expect OP in the slightest to try and forgive him. But at the same time, they also won't toss him aside because he still is their son. But they absolutely refuse to have contact with the affair partner. But I think given some time, they might actually have some interactions with their affair partner. I think OP's husband will probably be with the affair partner now since OP is divorcing him, and he does have a biological kid with the affair partner. So maybe some years of interactions or even months just slowly interacting with the grandparents, they'll open up to the affair partner. Maybe not. Okay, friends, so that concludes our first story of the day. Next up, we have a story from the anti-work subreddit. It was posted by educatedvegetable on March 14th, 2026, and was titled, Notified my work weeks ago I'm leaving for a family vacation in July. Tickets were bought, non-transferable, and they are panicking, begging me to cancel. This whole situation is absurd, and I need a sanity check. I work in admin in a niche but important multinational industry. I am a knowledgeable, reliable cog, and I pick up a lot of slack as we are incredibly short-staffed with no plans to add more because it's working out fine for right now. Blah blah. My boss is going on vacation, and she and I were comparing dates and realized they line up. She immediately told me I had to cancel. I told her I can't. Things are non-refundable. Since I am a cog, I never considered my manager's schedule. That is not my job. She told me she could deny my PTO, and if I go, I would be released. Great. I go to her boss and say, let's make a plan. They say, okay, great. And I build a schedule for task coverage, including him taking a few hours each day to sit at my desk and doing my in-person job of fielding industry questions or taking their info, and I'd follow up later. And I offered to log in, paid, for a couple of hours every day to help support. He says, "Cool, I'll present this to the higher-ups." My boss's boss told me that the higher-ups thinks that he's too important and high-paid to sit at a front admin office for any amount of time. Then, the board comes up with a great idea. We'll just offer to reschedule my vacation. They offered a few $100 to cover scheduling fees. I calculated the fees. They are way more than a few $100. Talking thousands, as hotel, travel, transport, everything for 4 I book in advance so I can just relax. We do this because it's not just my life, but my partner's summer schedule and his 2 kids, and their crazy schedules with sports, split custody, and their bio mom's vacation plans. A whole thing. They asked me to cancel it and go some other time. I said a firm no. The kids are finally old enough to comfortably travel internationally. They are excited, and I'm not telling them we can't go because work won't let me. Huh? My thing is, I'm a cog. Should I have double-checked everyone's calendar before scheduling? Sure, but I'm not a managing party. I haven't experienced something like this in my entire working life. I previously notified upper management of my vacation time at the beginning of the year, just like this, and they just say, "Okay, great, thanks for letting us know." Why is my leaving for 7 working days, leaving the office in such a panic? There are options to resolve this, like having someone come from another department for a couple of days here, another a couple of days there, and I offered to support remotely. Also, my vacation is scheduled for July? I tell you this in February? Also, shouldn't this be a reasonable indicator of how short-staffed a department is if 2 people being out for any extended period of time throws a wrench into everything? Did I do something wrong? Is there something I'm not seeing? Any insight or advice would be amazing. Edit to add, I am a woman. ScalingStories Corner. Nah, I don't think OP did anything wrong here. I haven't ever been in a work situation like this before, so maybe other people can chime in here. But isn't she giving so much time in advance that she's going to be away? Like, this post is from March, but she says she's told them in February, and they previously told her that the dates she gave were okay. It's not okay for OP to cancel the vacation and reschedule it, even if they offer to comp all the costs, because life isn't just pausing for everyone else. I think OP's partner and their kids are going to remember this and feel dejected that OP was forced to pick work over family. And that's gotta be a garbage feeling no matter what, even if it's not her fault. I think her company doesn't really care about overworking their employees, and there's just not really anything good to say about them. Now, here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, "It's March. July is 4 months away. They can pull their crap together and figure out a plan. Either this company is imploding or this post is rage bait." OP says, "Unfortunately, this is very real. The company is actually expanding, and 2 other personnel have left but will not be replaced due to cost. And since they left, the department is no longer overstaffed. The president of the company is a tightwad and has successfully run with a skeleton crew for over 2 decades, and is the kind of person who will tell his employees, minions, to make a grand idea happen. If he is questioned or told that won't work because of X, he gets so angry that he's being asked to explain himself or take input from the people around him. It just makes him dig his heels in harder. Luckily, as a cog, I don't have to face the brunt of his ire, but my boss and my boss's boss do, which is why my boss got so emotional when all this started. I would leave, but opportunities for this niche industry with my skill set and location are minimal. Also, I'm good at it." Update 1 month later. Interesting update in this saga, and I need another sanity check. So, some time has passed, and upper management is absolutely begging me to reconsider, reschedule, cancel, anything, so that I am here for the time our dates overlap. Overlapping time, 5 work days. They keep telling me they have to consider the needs of the business, that they will pay for rescheduling fees in the thousands. They keep asking me to pull up or answer for my personal calendar to cajole me into rescheduling to come back early to cover some of the time. And they keep saying, but you know how busy it gets. Look at your metrics. On top of this, we had 2 people leave the department in as many months, and we are being told no additional personnel will be hired. The reason why no one is being hired is because I've absorbed most of the workload and see, it's fine. We don't need more people. Great. The thing is, I know how busy it gets. That's why I booked a family vacation during the slowest time of the year and told y'all in March that I wouldn't be here. I wasn't asking. I feel like I'm going crazy with 6 people telling me I'm being unreasonable, inflexible, and putting them in a bad position. I even made a temporary schedule for other departments to cover my work for that time. Again, 5 days. And was told it's not going to be considered because other departments are already short-staffed. It just really is making me feel like all personnel issues are falling onto me. The thing is, I'm looking at the job market right now, and it is bleak out there. Recession indicators waving red flags. Sure, I could get a new job, but not at my pay scale or in my field right away. I'm seriously considering making my part of the family trip shorter so I can come back early. Do I hold strong, or do I let them bully me into changing my vacation plans so I'll have job security? Seriously asking because I feel like I'm actually going crazy from the stress. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, take your vacation. Say out loud to them, if you can't do without me for 7 days, what will you do without me if you fire me? OP says, I did. They told me I was a valuable employee, but ultimately replaceable and should start looking for other work. Second update 1 month later. Final update, hopefully I linked the post correctly. Thanks to all who commented or interacted with me on the previous posts. All comments were read, considered, and offered many perspectives I didn't consider, so thank you. In short, I notified my employer months in advance that I was leaving for a vacation. They needed coverage for 5 days and told me that if I went, I would not have a job when I returned. Cool. After some reflection and your encouraging comments, I decided to look for another job in the industry I work in. It's pretty niche, so the major players know of or have met each other. I reached out to a vendor of the company I currently work for, and they immediately offered me a position, fully remote and at the same pay scale. They said I can start now, later, whenever. They are stoked to have me on the team. They mentioned that I have a great reputation, and all of our vendor interactions have been positive, and because they were a vendor, they couldn't approach me, but they were happy I reached out to them. I am over the moon. I gave my current position a month's notice. I'm training my replacement over the next 2 weeks, taking a short break, and then starting my new remote position. And I get to keep my vacation with no hassle. All in all, I'm really happy how this all worked out and not sure if I would have pursued anything new without my current position treating me so poorly. So honestly, I kind of have to thank them for opening my eyes. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, how did they react to you leaving? If they can't cover you for 5 days, I would expect them to panic even more over replacing you. OP says, they were mostly resigned, made a counteroffer, but I respectfully declined. They asked if I could stay an additional week, and I also declined that, saying I wanted to establish my routine with the new company and that I wanted to focus on my growth there. I thanked them for everything I've learned while with them, and the opportunity to move on wouldn't have been a possibility without them, which is true. These last couple of weeks have been a mad scramble for them to get a replacement, and frankly, they are in for a fun awakening when they realize they are taking on the job of about 3 people. But this workload will be up to management to decide how to allocate. Not my problem anymore. ScalingStories Corner. That is just absolutely hilarious that they said OP is replaceable, and then they are now in a mad scramble to get a replacement. I think OP was not really replaceable, but they were like trying to bully her into doing what they wanted, by telling her she could be replaced. So, really good for her that she reached out to seek employment elsewhere. It seems really sick for her that she's staying on the same pay scale, but now gets to work completely remote. Okay, friends, so that concludes today's video. Leave a like and comment down below to let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.